Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is November the 2nd. This is our regular Board of Supervisors meeting. Do we have everybody here? Madam Clerk, could you make sure Supervisor Johnson is on the telephone?
Supervisor Johnson?
Present.
Is here. Okay. We'll begin the meeting this morning with the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation led by Pastor Tony Henry. If you please rise and good morning. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the privilege Thank you for the privilege of being able to pray for you this morning. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, creator of all people and places, we thank you for this morning and the abilities that we have to gather together. We thank you for your divine presence here in this meeting this morning. We ask your blessings over those in attendance, but especially for our Board of Supervisors this morning who have come to make decisions regarding the communities in which we and our families and friends live, work, and play. Remind them that they are only our leaders and also servants, and that it is their responsibility to make decisions for the good of all. Father, we thank you that you have called these individuals to this time and place. And though it's not always easy, help them to listen patiently and receptively when it is time to listen, and to speak up and out when it is necessary to benefit the people they serve, especially given the unique challenges that we face today. Father, I know as I said those words, unique challenges, there were things that popped into each one of our minds. And we thank you, Father, for the wisdom and the discernment that you are going to give to them as they conduct today's business. May we all be guided by your spirit of community, fairness, justice, and love. We pray all of these things in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Father.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the Board of Supervisors may by motion recess into executive session to receive legal advice from the board's attorneys on any item contained within this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-43103A3 and 4. At this time, I'll entertain a motion and action to call for an executive session to be held November the 16th, 2020 at 9 a.m. This will be for a discussion and consultation with legal counsel in accordance with ARS 38-431.03 to discuss items noticed on the agenda with an asterisk.
So moved.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. I'll now entertain another motion. This one will be motion and action to approve waiving the reading in full of items presented for discussion, adoption, or approval at this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Going on to the official business to come before the board this morning, we'll start out with the discussion of pending or contemplated legal litigation claims and demands. Attorney Esplin, do you have anything for us this morning?
Nothing to report to the board, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Going on to committee or legislative reports. Supervisor Johnson, we'll start with you since you're on the telephone.
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Gold?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I attended telephonically the Workforce Development Board meeting, as did you.
Yes.
And it was a swell meeting. Thank you.
I've never heard it described that way. It was a swell meeting. Supervisor Angus?
Thank you. I did attend telephonically the County Supervisors Association Summit, and I did not put together a report for today. If you haven't, I will do one for next.
You have it. Go ahead.
No, I don't have one today. But
Oh, okay.
if you don't have one, I didn't know if you were going to do one because you were there. If not, I will have one together for next week, for our next meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Supervisor Watson?
Thank you, Chairman Bishop. I'll have probably a more detailed report at our next meeting concerning water issues for the Wallapai Tribal Settlement, the Wallapai Aquifer, and the Colorado River transfer.
Okay, thank you very much. And I also attended the CSA Virtual Summit meeting. It was a 3-day meeting. I attended 2 days virtually, and then the last day I attended the voting down in Phoenix. We discussed a lot of what we're going to be doing going forward for supervisors all over the state of Arizona. Also, we looked at various legislative proposals, several of which was proposed by Mojave County, and that included a couple of Representative Cobb's water proposals that she proposed last year. They've been changed a little bit. She'll be proposing them again this year, and we'll be going down to the Capitol to testify in support of these. So I also attended various water meetings telephonically after that summit, including a meeting with the ADWR director and the Wallapai tribe lobbyist. So that battle goes on, and we'll be heavily involved in that next year. I also attended the Tri-City Council meeting and the Workforce Development meeting, which was swell. Okay, that concludes my report, and I'll ask the county manager if he has a report of any.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members. I do have a report that is one item, 2 parts, and both relate to economic development. So the Arizona Association for Economic Development holds an annual meeting this year. It's called the 2020 Golden Prospector Awards. And I would say our economic development activities and effort in Mojave County are in good hands. Mojave County did receive a merit for special events, which is encouraging and recognizing excellence in economic development. Those are not handed easily. It takes a lot of effort to earn one of those.
Yes.
And more impressively is that our economic development director, Tammy Ursenbach, was named the Arizona Association for Economic Development Developer of the Year for medium-sized counties. So that truly, there's only one of those. It's awarded to the person that most deserving of it. I would also say, before I invite Tammy to add a couple of comments, that Tammy did remind me, and I agree, this is a team effort, and it's team effort between the county, the city, and the community members at large. But I'm really proud of Tammy and her efforts and what she's doing for economic development. And I would ask to hold any applause. I'll ask Tammy to step up and maybe add a couple of comments and get a pat on the back.
Thank you very much. I'm not one that doesn't like lots of applause or a pat on the back, sorry. The Merit Award was given because of 2 recruiting trips I took, one to California and one to Utah, where I have 9 projects I brought back to the county, and 2 of which have actually come to the county since then. So that was exciting. I'm still working on most of those. They haven't turned us away yet. It's just the pandemic has definitely put us on a little bit of hold on some of those projects. And then the other one was actually for 2019 up until the beginning of this year. And that again it's all a team effort. There's been so many people. It's been wonderful to work with all of the Board of Supervisors, the county manager, to be able to do so. This wouldn't have put Mojave County on the map. The cities and economic development directors and the mayors in each of the cities and their councilmen and the different partners, chambers, SBDC, all of them, we all work together to make this happen. I think the big thing for Mojave County is that we're being seen by the state. I'm now starting to get phone calls all the time from the Arizona Commerce Authority saying, hey, we've got a project, are you interested in this? Or what can we do to help you? And all I do is pick up the phone, and they're here within a day or two. They're here to make sure that they're here to support the businesses that are coming in or our local businesses. So just a big thank you to all of you.
Thank you very much, Tammy. A very big congratulations to you, and I just want to let you know, when I wrote the letter recommending you for this prestigious honor, it was an easy write for me, and I was proud to be able to toot your horn as well as Mojave County. So thank you very much, and you are our shining star.
Well, thank you.
And I'll repeat that. Thank you, Tammy. We're grateful for your efforts. We're proud of your accomplishment, and we do want you to keep up the good work. And Madam Chair, board members, that concludes my report.
Okay, I think that's one of your better reports. Thank you, County Manager. I'll entertain a motion at this time to approve the October 5th, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. We'll now go into the call to the public. The in-person call to the public portion of the Mojave County Board of Supervisors meeting is allowed following social distancing and CDC guidelines. Comments can also be submitted to the clerk of the board no later than 5 p.m. on the Friday prior to the board meeting. So, Madam Clerk, do you have any written comments? Okay, we'll go on to those that are here in person today. First on the list alphabetically is Mr. Jeff Hans. You just repeat your name and the city that you live in, sir.
Jeff Hawes, Kingman, Arizona. Madam Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors, I rise today in my personal capacity, not as a county employee, not as a member of the Mojave County Attorney's Office. And don't worry, I came in early like I usually do to get work done for the county, and I'll be working through lunch as well. So don't worry about the time that I'm here in my personal capacity. I also worked on Saturday. I rise today to talk about the Constitution. They pretend it is a constitutional right, though there is nothing even remotely related to it in the U.S. Constitution, in its text or in the penumbras of the Constitution. The plain language of the 10th Amendment leaves this power to the states to make these determinations. They demand that the courts and elected officials pretend it is a constitutional right. And when it's all said and done, and they finally convince the courts that this fraud should be committed on the Constitution, that this thing that does not exist in the Constitution should be read into it, hundreds of thousands are dead. You may think that I'm speaking of abortion rights, but today I speak of the face covering safety requirements in Mojave County. The constitutional arguments that are being made about this are completely baseless and lack any foundation in logic. We all use filters in our vehicles to protect them from contaminants. We all use filters in our heating and cooling systems in our homes to protect them from contaminants. A face covering is nothing more than a filter. The more levels of filter that you can place in the system, the more likely you are to reduce the effects of the contaminants, and in this case, COVID-19. We wouldn't run our vehicles without filters, and we wouldn't run our HVAC systems without filters. Why should we expose ourselves to further contaminants from COVID-19 when all we need to do is put a simple face covering on, which we can still breathe through? Logic tells us that multiple levels of filters are effective in preserving the life of any system that they're placed in. In this case, human systems. The face covering safety requirement does the same thing. It prevents the movement of COVID-19 between human bodies. As an asthmatic, I ask that you reconsider the policies that you put in place on Thursday. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff, I have a question before you said.
Yeah, this is call to the public. We can't ask questions, go back and forth. We just got to stick to what the statute says on that.
You're
Thank
right.
you, Chairman.
Thank you for that reminder.
Sure.
Okay, our next speaker will be Amanda Kaufman.
Good morning, Amanda Kaufman. I live in Kingman. Good morning, Chairman Bishop and supervisors. This morning, I come here with a concern with the conduct of the board and its rules of order, and thanks for catching that one. It has been made very clear that the special meetings have been closed to the public for comment since they began, and they continue to be closed for public comment. However, I'm curious why public comment is being allowed by employees. I can understand if their comments were professional in nature, based on their education, research, and experience in their line of work. However, when they continue to interject their personal opinions, it's no different than the opinion that should also be allowed to be heard by the public. The fact that Attorney Esplin, County Manager Elders, and Ms. Burley can give their uneducated personal opinions on these matters during these meetings, the special meetings, where the public cannot, it needs to stop. It is so frustrating watching these videos and not being allowed to express how we feel, but they can clearly give their uneducated opinions on the matter. It's a double standard. It's their personal opinion. It's no different than ours. In the interest of transparency, please stop your staff from voicing their personal opinions at these meetings until such a time that you allow all opinions to be heard. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Scotty McClure. I'd ask Scotty to give his name and city, but he never does, so I'll do that for him. He's out of Bullhead City. Good morning, Mr. McClure.
What she said, I second it. I don't have much time, right? So I gave you a copy of my tax bill from 2016 and 2020. It's for 10 cents. I'm livid over this. I've been to 3 assessors' offices, and right now up on the second floor, they're trying to figure it out. Why my bill is taxed, why I'm getting a 10-cent tax bill. You guys get 40% of that, Mojave County. The 3 schools get 10% each. And then the Bullhead City Fire Department gets a 40% of 10 cents. You guys are not going to be able to figure this out. I want an answer, Gene. Got it? I got to work upstairs on this. This is, oh, you know what I want to say. What? 10 cents. Big box stores. I've asked you before, when I was here last time, they got these doors locked, and Bullhead City passed an ordinance back on August 4th. You guys need to make the same thing for that Safeway in Aztec and 95 in Mojave Valley. They need to open, they're not locked. That's why they're getting away with this. You can actually open up those doors. I know, Hildy, I am the one that made the complaint to Toby Carter, and it took me 5 months to get that door open. That's BS because of the lawyers in Phoenix for Safeway. They're scumbags. They don't care about you, the public that's shopping in their store. Just come on in and give me your money. Make a law like Bullhead City did. Not asking again. I'm going, this is handicap rules here. And she gave me I want a percentage of the handicap spots in town redone. And you guys have authority to do it. I want them up from 10 years ago. You got 20,000 more people in this county that have handicap license plates. I want them going from 10 spots to 12 spots. Not asking anymore. Those are the laws, federal laws. And I have their address to go to them. I'll give you one till the end of the year to have this law passed. And I see you finally posted the yearly agenda, the dates of that down on your office. You take it to the front door. I want the agenda posted on your front door, and yours too. You're easy to go to than it is to Hildy's office. I want it, the agenda, the full agenda. The library's not open on Sunday when I come back from California. So I don't end up with it. And you need to post it outside, not just inside. And I would really like to see us get the newspapers back at the Bullhead City Library. I have no idea what's going on in this county because our newspaper over there has really gone to hell. They won't report anything about what you guys do. And I really do second her motion. I can't believe I got all that in 3 minutes.
Thank you, Scotty. It's
Believe it
always,
either.
it's always a pleasure. Our next speaker will be Maggie Passero.
Convince him to stay in California.
And her dog.
Good morning. This is the first time I've done this, and it's been 10 years since I've been to one of your meetings, but I do
Okay,
follow.
could you say your name and the city you're from? and speak
Maggie
in-
Passero, Kingman, Arizona.
Very good, thank you,
I
Maggie.
do have a little bit of a hard time breathing, but and when I get anxious over things, I'm just going to start right out. The Constitution is the standard for government. Even during a valid declaration of a state of emergency, the authority and power of the Constitution predominates. An executive order, proclamation, or even a state statute shall not be written in conflict with or in contradiction to the U.S. Constitution or the state constitution for Arizona and the individual rights it protects. All of Governor Ducey's executive order is invalid. He cites Arizona Revised Statute 36-787 as one of the statute giving him the power to declare a state of emergency. Under that statute, during a state of emergency or state of war emergency declared by the governor in which there is an occurrence or imminent threat of an illness or health condition caused by bioterrorism, an epidemic or pandemic disease, or a highly fatal infectious agent or biological toxin, and, that's one key word, and, that poses a substantial risk of a significant number of human fatalities. This pandemic does not follow that standard at all. Substantial risk would mean close to a 50% contagious ability. Significant number of human fatalities, again, must be near 50% to be considered a significant number. We have nowhere near those kinds of deaths. The balance of the statute is not relevant since the COVID pandemic does not qualify under these guidelines for what's valid to call for a state of emergency. That COVID is not valid under that. There should be no state of emergency. You are put into elected official positions to maintain and protect individual rights, not the individuals, individual rights. You're not doing your job. When you veer from that, you should only be concerned maintaining and protecting individual rights. That's your only job description. Stick with it. You can buck Governor Ducey. He needs to be told, I can't get to Phoenix or I'd be there telling him myself. And I've tried talking loud enough, I don't think he's hearing me. He has no right to have declared the state of emergency. You can see there's a major conflict of interest, and this whole pandemic thing needs to stop. You need to take those things off your face, let your immune system do what it's meant to do, and let's get back to what we really are supposed to be doing, maintaining and protecting our individual rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. I think the governor might have been listening. Our next speaker will be Mr. Ken Works. Mr. Works, if you'd repeat your name and the city you reside in, you've got 3 minutes. Thank you.
Kenny Works, Yucca, Arizona, 86438. I ditto what the previous speaker just said. Also, the what's going on at Great American Pizza shouldn't be allowed to go on. There's about 7 employees there that work their butts off. I've been in there. I go in there about 3 times a month. It's a 100-mile round trip for me to go all the way out there, but I enjoy going there all the same. The fuel out there is 50 cents a gallon cheaper than it is where I'm able to buy it at my locality. And it's worth it to go out there. At what point are we guided by platonic guardians? For myself, it would be most irksome to be ruled by a bevy of platonic guardians, even if I knew how to choose them, which I assuredly do not. Learned Hand from the Bill of Rights, the Oliver Wendell Holmes Lectures. Filters, I don't need permission to breathe. I don't care if it's in the Constitution. I won't be asking for permission to breathe. I almost had to in the Army wearing gas masks. At some point, we'd have to take our masks off after we'd been gassed. But that's the last time I remember having a need to be able to ask for permission to breathe. I don't think that this so-called pandemic is anywhere near the type of seriousness that regards people to go around asking for permission to breathe. These filters that we're wearing on our faces, there's no specific guidance as to the construction and the amount of filtration they provide. The ones on my cars do. They serve a specific function, and they've been proven to work properly, and they have strict manufacturing guidelines to make sure that they do not ruin the car's ability to breathe the air. The ones we wear on our faces have no such restrictions or guidelines. But at what point do we decide whether we're going to be guided or whether we're going to defend our abusers? At some point it turns into abuse. What is that guideline? When does abuse start and the guidance stop? But obviously we've overstepped that guideline at a few points, as the previous speaker just mentioned, that it's being overstepped right now by our governor, and I sure won't be voting for him in the next elections. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Works. Our next and final speaker is Penny Townsend. Once again, Penny, just repeat your name and the city that you reside in, and you've got 3 minutes. And we do have your handout.
Okay, Penny Townsend, I live in Kingman. Good morning, Chairman, Bishop, rest of the Board of Supervisors. I just wanted to speak with you shortly this morning to give you some information. I'm also hoping that we are going to get some pictures up here. I've been told to ask for the pictures. They're not very pleasant, so it's not horrible, but if you're squeamish, look away. We are forming a group who are going to be addressing the enforcement of the laws against animal abuse and cruelty here in Mojave County. The group will be called I Am Hope. The name has been chosen as right now in Bullhead City, we are trying to push for the prosecution of the owner and the landlord in a case of severe animal abuse involving a female dog called Hope. Anyone interested in reading about it can go to the Facebook page of the same name. We are of the opinion that while laws are passed in Mojave County, they are not always enforced. This is not from an animal control level, because we all know we have way too few animal control officers, but from a higher level of the attorneys and judges who make the decisions whether these people are going to be prosecuted or not. Right now, we are busy with the Bullhead City Mayor, Council, and Chief of Police to try and get justice for Hope. In between, we are closely looking at animal laws and are trying to recruit a pro bono attorney to help us look at this because law is complicated. It's great passing laws, but these laws need to be enforced. And I think all of you are aware how many dogs are still roaming the streets, not leashed. In fact, we had one run over in Mojave County last night, brought it to Kingman, broken back, had to be euthanized. They're taken to the shelter. I'm not sure when the owners pick them up if the fines are enforced, because they are supposed to be fined for having an animal at large. Anyway, this is not to mention the blatant cases of animal cruelty and abuse in all the hoarding cases we have in this county. It's horrific. I mean, it's really horrible and a lot. One law that particularly irks me is that dogs can be left outside in the freezing cold or in temperatures above 100 degrees as long as they have shade, food and water. Dogs are not cattle. Cats are a different story, because I do stand for cats as well, although I'm mainly busy with dogs. But dogs are not cattle. They cannot really tolerate these temperatures. I know some of the Malamutes and Huskies and that like to be outside when it's cold. Of course, as I said, I'm also aware we have way too few AC officers. That might be a consideration if the county can afford it to employ a couple more. I just want you to be aware of this group, because we're going to be speaking to you individually, and we will petition at county level, and if that doesn't succeed, we will take it to state level. Thank you. And there are pictures for you guys.
Thank you very much. This concludes the call to the public. I will now close that, and I see no one wishes to make comments, so we'll go on to the Board of Supervisors consent agenda. Following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion of said items unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action. Supervisor Watson, do you have anything to pull?
Nothing this morning. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, Supervisor Angus?
Nothing.
Supervisor Angus, nothing.
Supervisor Gold?
None today, ma'am.
Supervisor Johnson?
Nothing, Madam Chair. Supervisor Johnson
Has left the conference.
Okay, well, at least we got that comment from Supervisor Johnson before he left the conference, and he'll be right back. So I'll entertain a motion to approve items 5 through 29.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, at this time, we'll go to our public hearings. I'll open the public hearing for a discussion of possible action regarding Board of Supervisors Resolution Number 2020-156, an amendment to the Mojave County General Plan and an amendment to the Golden Valley Area Plan. I have no one signed up to speak on this, so I'll close the open hearing and open it up to discussion or a possible motion.
Madam Chairman, motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any
Supervisor
opposed?
Johnson.
Motion
Has
passes.
joined the conference.
Item number 31, I'll open the public hearing for a discussion of possible action regarding Board of Supervisors Resolution Number 2020-157 for a rezone on parcel number 305-06146 to allow a commercial retail business in the Golden Valley vicinity. I have no one signed up to speak on this item, so I'll close the public hearing and open it up to comments or a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second the motion.
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Item number 32, I'll open a public hearing for a discussion of possible action regarding BOS Resolution Number 2020-158, an amendment to the Mojave County General Plan, parcel number 32412-132A in the Kingman vicinity. I have no one signed up to speak on this item, so I'll close the public hearing and open it up to comments. For a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 33, I'll open the public hearing for a discussion of possible action regarding BOS Resolution Number 2020-159, a rezone of parcel number 3241 to 132A to allow a storage facility in the Kingman vicinity. I have no one signed up to speak on this item, so I'll close the public hearing and open it up to comments or a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 34, I'll open the public hearing for a discussion of possible action regarding BOS Resolution Number 2020-161, an extension of time for BOS Resolution Number 2010-230, as amended by BOS Resolution Number 2012-021, 2014-164, 2016-058, and 2018-105, setting forth a major amendment to the Mojave County General Plan for a solar power plant and related uses in the Sterling vicinity. I have no one signed up to speak on this, so I'll close the public hearing and open it up to comments or a motion.
Madam Chairman,
Supervisor Gold.
I move the adoption of item 34.
Second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 35, I'll open the public hearing for a discussion of possible action regarding BOS Resolution Number 2020-162, an extension of time for BOS Resolution Number 2010-231, as amended by BOS Resolution Number 2012-022, 2014-165, 2016-059, and 2018-106, setting forth a major amendment to the Sterling Area Plan and boundary expansion and adjustment between the Sterling Area Plan and the Desert Hills Fire District Area Plan for a solar power plant and related uses in the Sterling vicinity. I have no one signed up to speak on this item, so I'll close the public hearing. Open it up to comments or a motion.
Madam Chairman,
Supervisor Gold.
I move the adoption of item 35.
Second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 36, I'll open the public hearing for a discussion of possible action regarding the BOS Resolution Number 2020-163, an extension of time for BOS Resolution Number 2010-233 as amended by BOS Resolution Number 2012-023, 2014-166, 2016-060, and 2018-107, setting forth a rezone to heavy manufacturing and solar photovoltaic overlay zone for a solar power plant and related uses in the Sterling vicinity. I have no one signed up to speak on this item, so I'll close that public hearing and open it up to comments or a motion.
Madam Chairman,
Supervisor Gold?
I move the adoption of item 36.
Second.
A motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 37, I'll open the public hearing for a discussion of possible action regarding the Mojave County Ordinance Number 2020-04, an ordinance replacing Mojave County Ordinance 2018-06. I do have one person signed up to speak on this item. I had to find it first. I tucked it away. Chris Johnson. Okay, the speaker is waived, so we'll go on and close the public hearing and open it up to comments or a motion.
Madam Chairman, I have a question for staff.
Supervisor Gold, go ahead.
Mr. Walsh, I was contacted by a constituent and he expressed concern that we were going to reduce that maximum height of those hangars from 30 feet to 25 feet, but it doesn't appear that happens in this motion.
Chairman Bishop, Supervisor Gould, that's correct. Initially, staff had recommended the 20-foot height maximum. The Building Code Advisory Board then recommended that go up to 25 feet. At Planning and Zoning recommended at 30 feet. Staff has no opposition to the 30 feet.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other questions?
Yes.
Supervisor Watson.
Madam Chairman, I do have some questions. And concerning the 30-foot height, It seems like an extreme amount of height for a hangar for an airplanes that generally aren't over 15 feet tall, unless you're got a World War II bomber, I would suppose. But your department feels comfortable with 30 feet?
Chairman Bishop, Supervisor Watson, part of the justification in the 30 feet is one of the speakers at the Planning and Zoning Commission indicated a desire to place a second story above the hangar. So the way that the ordinance is written is the structure could not exceed 20 feet. Therefore, by allowing the structure to go up to 30 feet, that would allow for a hangar and then a second story above that. The other consideration that staff took on this item is an RV garage can be built to the 30 feet or even higher for an RV garage up to the zoning maximum. And part of the discussion, both at the Building Code Advisory Board and at Planning and Zoning Commission, revolved around the fact that an RV garage can be built to this size. RVs and these larger boats that are being stored in these RV garages contain just as much, if not more, fuel than an aircraft, a personal aircraft can carry. So the discussion basically was not seeing an increased danger by allowing the aircraft hangar to go up to that size as well.
Okay, so are these designed for commercial aircraft or personal aircraft?
This is just for the residential aircraft hangars. So what this ordinance is doing is in the building codes, they have a section on aircraft hangars. And within that section of aircraft hangars, they define a residential aircraft hangar, which allows for a lesser construction standard than is required for a regular aircraft hangar. So it would be geared just for residential use.
And my next question is concerning exempting the block wall not over 7 feet. Isn't the normal height 6 feet?
The building code, the way the building code's written, and actually is observed as well by the three major cities within the county, the building code reads, fences not over 7 feet high are exempted from building permits. The county had amended that previously down to 4 feet, and basically anything over 4 feet in height, the county was requiring building permits. A request from from a few of the Building Code Advisory Board members that the county considering mirroring what the neighboring or what the cities within the county were doing and removing that amendment requiring 4 feet or higher.
Okay, this is not a fence, this is block wall. I think your reference was to fences.
And the code is somewhat silent when it comes to block walls. There is a section in the code regarding masonry, and that deals more typically with your masonry buildings, and that's where your codes are designed there to address that. For a block wall, there's not specifically, and I'm going to look for my Building Code Advisory Board to make, or my chief building official to make sure that I'm not leading you astray. But my understanding is that the building code itself does not speak directly to block walls. It speaks of fences, like I said, in the exemptions, work exempt from permits. One of those items is that fences not over 7 feet high are exempt from permits. What the cities within the county, both Kingman, Bullhead, and Lake Havasu, have identified fences as including block walls.
Okay. So, in summing up, your department is okay with each one of these changes?
We have no objection to these changes. One of the items and part of the consideration that we looked at in the fence wall or in the block wall consideration is that in order to do work above a certain dollar amount, a licensed contractor is required. So, and I don't have that that number. I'm going to have Gilbert come up here. So above $1,500, a licensed contractor is required to do the work. So if I go and hire somebody, if that work is above $1,500, they are required
to
to
be a
have
licensed
licensed contractor. And
Okay.
therefore, that's where we've believed that some of that onus can then be placed as this wall, if they're building a wall over 1,500 feet, which you don't get very much block wall for under $1,500, they will need to be a licensed contractor and then will be overseen by the Register of Contractors.
Does that need to be a part of this motion?
It's under the Register of Contractors requirements.
Okay.
Supervisor Gold?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Tim, I believe what you're referring to is the handyman exclusion in the contractor's licensing statutes.
I will go with that. I apologize. I don't know the exact exclusion, but I know that in researching it, that is what I've been told is above $1,500. They need to have.
I don't think we prohibit an owner builder though from building his own fence.
That is correct.
That's only if he hires that fence out.
That would be correct.
Thank you.
It is.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Angus?
This item,
You guys.
this item went through Building Advisory Committee. It went through P&Z. I'm sure people spoke, right, and everything was worked out, and then it was voted unanimous.
That's correct.
And your guys are okay with it?
We have no objection to it. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Or a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, going on now to our regular agenda. Item 38, discussion of possible action regarding BOS Resolution Number 2020-160, designating as county highways in the Fort Mojave area for the purpose of stabilization and hard surfacing, in addition to accepting the proposed highways as paved roads into the Mojave County Road Maintenance Program as listed on the agenda, totaling 1.75 miles. Supervisor Gold, I believe this is in your area.
It is, Madam Chairman. I move that item 38 be adopted.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 39, this will be a discussion of possible action regarding the denial of a request for the extinguishment of a 16-foot wide by 103-foot-long public utility easement on APN 120-33-042 and 120-33-043 in the Lake Havasu area due to adjoining landowner and utility company objection. Okay, I'm not sure if this is you, Supervisor Gold, or Supervisor Johnson, but I'll open it up to comments or a motion.
Madam Chairman, I move that the board deny the request for the extinguishment of the easement.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 40, this will be a discussion of possible action regarding the appointment of a member of the Mojave County Board of Supervisors to the Western Arizona Economic Development District Executive Board of Directors representing Mojave County for a period of 1 year. Tammy Ursenbach is at the podium, and Tammy, can you explain to us a little more about this?
Yes, let me give you a little bit of history first. Thank you, Chairman Bishop and Board of Supervisors. In 1998, the Western Arizona Economic Development District was broken away from WACOG. At that point, they had 3 Board of Supervisors that were over the organization. One was Supervisor Reyes in Yuma County, one was Supervisor Wilson in La Paz County, and one was Supervisor Johnson. The organization went for a while and then eventually somehow just kind of dissolved, and we didn't end up having a voice or a supervisor over the district, and neither did La Paz. It was just Supervisor Reyes. They, with the designation in July of this year, that it's a full designation with the EDA, We're now trying to pull together the actual organization, which means a full board, it's going to take some work. Whoever sits on this is going to have some work to get started. They're going to have to redo and update bylaws. They're going to have to actually start the whole organization from start and create the organization. So once they do, then it will move a little smoother, but it includes going and requesting information and support from all of the cities, and then finding additional people in organizations within each community to sit on various committees. So it's a lot of work that's going to be. So I want to set that up first. Hopefully there is a board of supervisors that wants to sit on this and be supportive. It does include all 3 counties. So, and it's exciting to see things happen and see things move forward, but it is going to take some time.
Okay,
Any questions? Or
Thank you very much.
Madam
Does
Chair?
anybody have any questions? Supervisor Angus?
Is there a time element to this? Because usually in January with the board, we'll have a new member of the board. We then decide who's going to be on what committees and things like that, and boards. So is there something that can wait till January? There's a reason it has to be now.
it does have to be now, unfortunately. The EDA has to have the full board completed. They wanted it completed last month, and we didn't have enough notice. So they want everything together by the end of this month so they can start having reports made by December.
Okay, Attorney Esplin, I have a question for you. Can the supervisor-elect be considered for this committee, since he has not yet taken office, but he will in January? Did I stump you?
Well, I was actually distracted. What's going on?
This is a committee where a county supervisor needs to be appointed from Mojave County.
And didn't Supervisor Angus point out, why don't we wait till January?
Yes.
I mean, that's the essence of it. And is there a problem with waiting till January? What's
Yeah,
the problem?
It needs to be decided quickly because the EDA needs to have reports made by the end of this month, first of next month.
Okay. So what's the question now?
The question is, can the supervisor-elect be considered for this appointment to the committee prior to taking office?
Well, but they won't be able to do anything till January.
Exactly, yeah.
So I don't see why, because they haven't done anything yet. You want a board of supervisor, correct?
Yeah.
I don't think you would do something that would be a supervisor-elect because they haven't assumed the responsibilities of office.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear. And then in January, Supervisor Angus, we could adjust
We
that.
can adjust it in January.
Right.
Right? If someone does it now, we can change it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Supervisor Johnson, do you have any questions?
No questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, does anybody want to volunteer for this position?
For 2 months?
For 2 months.
As a lame duck, I'd be glad to.
And if I could
Our
just,
lame duck has volunteered to take this position until January. We'll take another look at it then. Thank you, Supervisor Johnson.
if I could just add, in the motion to approve but modify it for a 2-month period, because the last sentence says for a period of 1 year. So just modify it for 2 months.
Okay. Do you want to make that
Okay, I'll make the motion that we approve the appointment of Supervisor Gary Watson to the Western Arizona Economic Development District Executive Board of Directors representing Mojave County for a period of 2 months.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You were an aye, right, Supervisor
Yes,
Johnson?
I was.
Watson?
That's fine. Madam
right,
Chairman, if I could, before we go to item number 41,
Yes.
can we revert back to item number 29, which was passed with our,
That was on the consent agenda.
on our consent?
So would that have to be a reconsideration?
Do you wish to, yes, that'll be a reconsideration.
A motion to reconsider item number 29.
Second.
Have a motion to reconsider item number 29.
Why do we want to reconsider it?
We'll find out.
I don't know, but I think we're going to find out if we approve it. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you for the reconsideration on item number 29. I just want to make sure that this is a request for an additional 100,000 and not permission to spend 100,000. So what I'm looking for is we understand that there's going to be an additional cost due to the mail-in ballots, early voting, another number of other items, and the additional requirement for the employees to be covered. But I just want to make sure that we're not giving $100,000 to that department without the justification for the expenditures.
I don't know the answer to that. If somebody's from the recorder's office, I mean, I think what you're authorizing is up to $100,000 to cover additional costs. So, I mean, it's like anything else. If the recorder's office only spends 70,000, then they would spend 70,000, but they could spend up to 100,000.
So we could reword the motion, Supervisor Watson, to say request up to an additional 100,000.
Up to 100,000. Okay. I just wanted a clarification on it. I didn't want carte blanche.
The verbiage was not clear in that, but I think the backup information clarified it a little bit.
You could, Madam Chairman,
Supervisor
you
Gould.
could also add a phrase that said, and the balance of that $100,000 will be reverted to the general fund.
That'd be fine. Would you care to make that motion?
Sure. Let's see. I move that the request of an additional $100,000 to cover additional costs of the 2020 general election with the balance being returned to the general fund be adopted.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, and we also have our county recorder that's ready to answer any questions. So we have a motion, and
I'll second the motion.
under discussion, does anybody have any questions for our county recorder?
I have a question.
Okay, Supervisor Angus.
How are you doing over there? It's unprecedented, this election year, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And as much as we tried and planned for, it was a challenge.
Right.
Is that the reason why you're needing the additional funding? I just want to make sure this is within the agenda item.
So I'm sorry I missed the question. I was just heard that there was a question about it. Yes, really.
So I think the question, Christy, was do you need all of the $100,000 to cover the additional costs, or are you asking up to $100,000, which is what our motion was that Supervisor
Really
Gould just
be
made?
up to, but I know that there's already going to be a March election, and just to try and get through the rest of the year, as much as we planned, when the budget was due, I've had to have ballots overnighted and envelopes overnighted from the printer. We had to order an additional 30,000 voter registration cards. There were just unexpected additional expenses. We had quite a bit on hand that we thought would carry us through, but what we found was the 80-some thousand mail ballots we sent, voters chose not to vote those ballots and turned around and went to early voting. We didn't anticipate voters getting 2 ballots each and mailing them and then having them show up. So it was really the supplies, and then the additional staff that we hired and pulled in to help us through this process. Just, I'm hoping that it doesn't come to that much, but I want to be prepared as the bills are coming in, that I have sufficient funds to cover the expenses.
Okay, so Christy, I know elections are expensive, but we could also have other elections coming along next year. Did you ask for more money in the budget to cover situations such as this in next year?
Yes, and that would be part of that.
Okay.
Because there's certain line items that were totally at zero. So
with that is the anticipation to get us through any additional elections in 2021 through the fiscal year.
If I could
not
ask
what
for
the
a
motion
clar-
says.
Yeah, exactly. The motion doesn't specify that. You're going to have to modify the motion if that's what you wish to do.
Supervisor Gould?
Can I ask another question, Christie, before the motion?
Yes, Supervisor Angus, go ahead.
Christie, I understand that the Secretary of State has thrown a lot of curveballs at the counties at the last minute, which has made it quite chaotic. Is that true?
Not only that, but the entities, the extension of the voter registration deadline, and then changing it again. And when you're trying to conduct early voting and you're still registering people to vote, really added to that and, required additional staff and additional assistance to try and juggle those balls in the air going all at the same time. So there were some definite curveballs. Yes.
Well, I was over at the library on Friday, the last day of early voting, and I've never seen that many people online, and your staff did very well. And I know some people volunteered at the end to help out, and everybody seems to be working together, but this whole election is unprecedented, I believe.
And if it weren't for the libraries and their staff assisting us, it would have been extremely difficult. They were out in Havasu. They handed out tickets to make sure because the line kept growing. In Bullhead, staff came into our office to assist us here at the library. I can't say enough about how they got us through this.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your help.
Madam Chairman, I just had a comment before. We should actually be overjoyed that the public is actually taking an interest in their right to vote. Because essentially the United States is an experiment in a democratic process where the founders gave us the right to choose our own leaders. We don't have a potentate, we don't have a prince, we don't have a king. We get to choose our own leaders. So we should be overjoyed that we have to spend another $100,000 here in our county because people have taken an interest in this election. Thank you.
They came out and they voted early, just as they were asked to do.
Sure.
So it's been amazing.
With that, I move that we approve the request for an additional $100,000 to cover additional election costs for the 2021 recorder's budget.
Okay, point of order, do we need to rescind the second on the original motion
Probably.
first?
Yes.
I would like to rescind my original motion.
Okay, and then the second?
Rescind the second.
Okay,
And
there you go.
make a motion that we approve the request for an additional $100,000 to cover additional election expenses for the 2021 budget, recorder budget.
And with the balance returning to the general fund if necessary, or not?
Doesn't sound like there's going to be a balance.
Okay, we
you
have a
would.
new motion.
You want it in there?
Please.
With any balance returning to the general fund.
Okay, now we
I'll
have a new
second the motion, but I do have a question.
And the motion's been seconded. Supervisor Watson?
Thank you. Ms. Blair, you indicated that you put out 80,000 mail-in ballots, is that correct?
Over 80,000, yes.
All right, when a person gets a mail-in ballot, they can drop that ballot at the early voting, correct?
Yes.
All right, what happens if a person drops that early ballot, but then again tries to vote at the early voting precinct?
If that
How is that caught?
If that happens, because it could be if they dropped it off and it hasn't been accepted yet, and then they go and vote in person, only one of those ballots will be accepted.
And what's the protection on that? Is it a person that is going through each and every one of them, or is it a barcode on the voting apparatus? How is that designed?
So when we get the ballots back, we're signature verifying every single signature. And so when we scan the barcode, which is the voter ID on the affidavit envelope, it comes up with a red saying that the ballot's already been accepted. And then we can go into that voter's record and we can actually see the batch where it was scanned and verify that.
So if they voted at the early voting and subsequently their mail-in ballot came in, then that would not be a valid ballot, correct?
No, it won't be valid, and the system will cancel that ballot because they have already voted in person.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted a clarification. A couple of people have asked me on what the process is, so thank you.
And, you know, this election,
I'm still confused. Which ballot do you count then? The first ballot or the most recent ballot?
it's going to be the first ballot that comes in is the one we're going to accept.
Gotcha.
This election, because of the voter registration extension, created probably more of an issue for that, because then you've already sent out the ballot, then you get verification that they've changed their address. So you anticipate that ballot being returned as undeliverable, and then another ballot's gone out in the mail, and then they call because they haven't gotten their ballot, and they want you to send another ballot. So some of the voters got up to 3 ballots this election just because of that extension and the flip-flopping, and it became rather chaotic. But only one of those votes will count.
Any other questions?
Madam Chairman, just a comment. The judges need to stay out of this. This is all settled by state statute, and they should not have extended the time to register to vote. That just willy-nilly, we got a judge that comes in and says, oh, even though the state legislature has adopted and the governor signed a bill that says that you have 30 days before the election to register, some judge comes in and decides that that's insufficient, which throws our system into chaos. They have no authority to do that. If they want to be lawmakers, then they should go run for office and go down to the legislature. They should not be legislating from the bench. This is creating chaos. It's going to be a chaotic election because of judges' rulings. Whether they're state judges or federal judges, it's going to be chaotic. It's troubling that we have multiple ballots. And I'd be curious to find out how many of those late registered are the ones that end up with 3 ballots. Because I feel that that one of the parties is trying to create points of contention so that after the election they can go out and every one of those points of contention is going to have a lawsuit. So we won't be settling this after the count of the ballot box. It's going to go on and on and on in court. And all that does is you have these new voters that have been persuaded to vote this time. They are going to see the chaos in this election, and they probably will never vote again. But the judges need to stay out of it. It's not their purview. We already have state law. It's already settled state law. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Johnson.
I have some questions. We're talking about an election next year. We have no election scheduled for next year. Shouldn't the motion be expending $100,000 to add it to the 2021 budget and not the 21 budget?
If I can answer that,
Yes,
what Recorder Blair was referring to is we anticipate that there's going to be a recall election in March. There's already one that's been scheduled for a school board. I know there's one for a school board that's already gone through a court process, and we know that there's going to be in March. And then if there's any other ones that could come up in that time. So we already know for certain that there will be one in March, and there will be a special election in March. And I think the purpose of the motion was this fiscal year, correct? I mean, it was this 2021 fiscal year was the purpose of the motion. So.
Okay, and
Is that correct? It's for this fiscal year?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. As long as the motion's that way, I'm fine.
did you have any other questions, Supervisor?
None, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes.
Chairman, before you go further, if I could have a point of order. I
Yes.
believe Director Walsh wanted to just briefly touch base on one of the items. Based on the information that he'll provide to you, you can then decide whether you want to reconsider the item or not, but he just wanted to provide that to you. That's what he brought my attention to.
Which item is that?
37.
37, okay. Director Walsh.
Chairman Bishop, I just wanted to clarify one thing. A question was asked whether they were both unanimous. Planning and Zoning did recommend unanimously that the items be approved. Building Code Advisory Board, I had a couple of split decisions. They were 5-1 on increasing the size of the aircraft hangar and the height. On the wall, they were 5-2. So I just, going back and look at that, I just wanted to make sure I had that clarity.
Okay. All right, thank you for that clarification. Does anybody want to reconsider this item with that information? I see none. Okay, thank you, Director Walsh. Okay, the last item on the agenda, item 41. This will be a discussion, possible action regarding an update from the County Public Health Director to the Board of Supervisors regarding recent issues, actions, events, and county responses regarding COVID-19 updates, and taking any necessary actions based upon the updates.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Supervisors. I will start out with the numbers. As of October 30th, because that's the last date we reported out, our report should come out today around 1 o'clock or so. There have been a total of 4,264 COVID cases. 3,814 of those have recovered, and then there have been 220 deaths. The average age of a case is 47.5 years old. And an average age of death is 75.9. Any questions on those numbers?
Any questions?
Okay. Hospital update, I sent that out right before the meeting today. I don't know if everyone had an opportunity to review that. We continue to see some cases of COVID within the hospital, some cases of COVID on the ventilators. And it appears that within the last 24 hours, the influenza cases have not shown up as much as they did last week. Any questions on the hospital update?
I don't see any. Thank you.
Okay. A staffing update. We had hired the case investigators several months back. Currently, due to either our case investigators moving on into other roles or them moving to part-time due to schooling, at this time we have 5 full-time investigators. We have 3 part-time investigators, and then we have the half-time coordinator that's coordinating all of our investigators. As we're seeing the cases increase, because we have seen a 70% increase in reported cases since September, we are going to look to reopen the case investigator position to fill some of those positions that have been vacated by those who have moved on to other things. We are going to reopen it as a part-time as needed. So that way they're trained, they're in the wings if we need them, but not necessarily working full-time. Any questions on that? Okay.
No questions.
Today, our vaccine task force, our internal task force that's preparing for the vaccine, is having their first official meeting. They're taking the information that they have gained from the state task force meetings to create a plan that will be Mojave County specific. Any questions on that? No?
Yeah, everybody's quiet.
Okay. I don't really have anything else, but I know there are other questions and concerns, so.
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Angus?
In the midst of these numbers that we hear twice a week, I just want to remind everyone of these numbers. I took this from the CDC webpage. It's the CDC COVID-19 survival rates, okay? Ages 0 through 19, is 99.97%. Age 20 to 49, 99.98%. Age 50 to 69, 99.5%. And age 70 plus, 94.6%. So I think that these numbers should never get lost in these case numbers. You know, it's, to me, always has been the fatalities, and the survival rate is very, very high. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? I have a question. A couple of meetings ago, I asked for some clarification about whether or not Mojave County has to accept anonymous reports in regards to the governor's executive orders. And I never received an answer back from that. And it's been a couple weeks now. And I'm just wondering, have we ever clarified? I know the governor's office has a complaint line that you can call in and be unanimous, but what's the situation with Mojave County? Because I think if somebody comes and makes a complaint, they should be man or woman enough to put their name on that complaint. But I don't know what the legalities are on that. Do we have to take complaints without a name?
Madam Chair, I do also know that on the state's website, where you can fill in a form to provide a complaint, it does stay optional on there. So when we do get reports back from state, it may or may not have a name in there because that's an optional field. As for Mojave County,
65 and above.
do you have anything on that? I'm going to ask Lenore Knudsen to come up and speak to that because I am not an expert in that area.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Lenore.
Good morning, Chairman Bishop, Board of Supervisors. This has caused us to take a closer look at the statutory requirements, which will be our baseline. Regardless of what the state is requiring on their fields, their mandatory fields in the online complaint system, it does indeed say optional when it comes to name. But there is a state statute that addresses anonymous reporting of complaints. And unfortunately, I was just digging through my stack to find that number. I don't have the number in front of me, but we will be looking at, and it has caused us to look at revamping the complaint system within Mojave County so that we can be following state statute. It's been one of the processes that has just evolved from prior directors, from other kinds of complaints, because COVID is not the only complaint system that's utilized. Excuse me. There are also complaint systems utilized for food complaints as well as environmental health complaints. We will be undertaking a review of all of those so that we can make sure that we're following the state statute as opposed to just following along with what the Arizona Department of Health is requiring.
Okay, and we also have complaints that come in for other areas like public works on roads and planning and zoning, and you know, there's we as a county, our policy has been to accept any complaints that come in as a reason to investigate. But you know, I really would like clarity as to whether or not this is just a county policy or if there's some kind of a Arizona law that's requiring us to take either or.
I just actually recall, I haven't put my fingers on it yet, but I do recall the number. If Attorney Esplin is able to look it up, it is 41-1010.
Interesting number.
If my memory serves me correctly, we'll see.
And just while I'm looking this up, just FYI, this is separate and distinct, different from the silent witness program that you may be familiar with with law enforcement. That's just a different issue. We're not talking about that.
I know as a county, we don't want to discourage complaints because we are a complaint-driven organization, but this has caused some problems. It's causing me to rethink our policy and
So if I could just read the statute, this is, I believe this is the statute on point that Attorney Knutson has pointed out. It says, notwithstanding any other law, a person shall disclose the person's name during the course of reporting an alleged violation of law or rule. During the course of an investigation or enforcement action, the name of the complainant shall be a public record unless the affected agency determines that the release of the complainant's name may result in substantial harm to any person or to the public health or safety.
Okay, so I would appreciate that being looked at a little more closely and see if we can require a complainant to provide a name, although we could still keep it confidential.
Yes, I think there would have to be an individualized determination on a case-by-case basis whether some health or safety risk resulted or would result from disclosure of that name. But we will be looking at studying that statute more carefully, looking at any court guidance, if any regulatory guidance, and again, we'll be moving to come into compliance with statute regardless of the position of the Arizona Department of Health.
Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Chairman.
Supervisor Gold.
Ms. Knutson, don't Americans have a right to confront their accuser?
In a court of law, yes, but this would not be a court of law, at least at the point of the complaint.
So it sounds like there must, under that statute, from hearing the reading of that statute, there must be a substantial reason to not require the name of the complainant.
Actually, I think that requiring the name of the complainant is the standard, and then there would have to be a substantial reason to not disclose it. But we would still require the name of the complainant. As to whether the department disclosed that, it would have to be based on a health and safety decision, and a substantial one.
So the default would be to collect the name.
Yes.
And not disclose it.
At this very early place in the review, I would say yes, but I want to reserve the right to flesh that out a bit more as we have the opportunity to look at current practices and all of the interpretations surrounding that provision.
Sure, thank you.
And if I could just chime on that too, the right to confront your accuser is in a criminal case. This is a criminal case, but it could turn into a criminal one. But the right to confront your the right to confront your accuser is in criminal case in the Constitution.
I think it's life, liberty, or property.
That's a different part of the statute, or excuse me, that's a different part of the Constitution. The right to confront your accuser is in it's either the Fifth or Sixth Amendment of the Constitution. The life, liberty, or property you're referencing is in the 14th Amendment.
Life, liberty, and property is in the preamble also, though.
It is, but when we're talking about the context of the right to confront your accuser is in the criminal sense and not in the civil case.
So the preamble doesn't count in this case?
Not in the context that you're talking about. But.
We can debate this later. Thank you.
Yeah.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Angus, go ahead.
I'm glad to hear that you think we should maybe rethink some of our policies. And I keep getting back to this Title 36 that we are basing our enforcement on. And I've reached out to some other counties, and they are not using Title 36, and they're taking a more gentle hand on enforcement. I believe that Mojave County is putting a very heavy hand on enforcement. And we are seeing the results of that. We are seeing businesses fighting back. Just, nobody ever takes into consideration human nature. People are going to fight back. And so I'm going to propose, Madam Chair, if it is okay with you, that on Thursday, our special meeting is all about enforcement. And perhaps we can have staff come back and give us what other counties in Arizona are doing and the justification for using Title 36 on our citizens. I mean, just the term alone makes me shiver, Title 36 to close your businesses down. It's not working. And enforcement, there was an article in the Havasu paper on Saturday, I believe, that was very misleading. And I'm sure all the supervisors kind of got a lot of blowback from it. And so maybe it could be explained again exactly what the process is, but it doesn't stop the end game, which is if, these businesses don't comply for whatever reason, or in that moment in time that they are inspected, they don't have a mask on or something, that it's not going to end well. And this is, in my opinion, and I'm sure I'll get no disagreement from this board, this is not the time to be hurting our small businesses even more and having them live in fear, basically, that their businesses are going to be shut down. So that's what I am requesting Thursday's meeting, and give the citizens and the business owners the right to come here and explain to us what this is doing to them. You know, we kind of sit up here and we make these decisions, but it's affecting the people, and they have a right to voice their concerns.
So is Thursday enough time, Lenore, to pull something like this together? And it sounds like Supervisor Angus may want more of a workshop if you're wanting the...
Well, I want us to be able to make motions and stuff should that come up. So workshops, you can't.
Okay, okay. So,
I just want the board to know that I will not be present on Thursday, so if you're looking for information from me, it would have to be covered by one of the others in the civil division.
Is that possible?
I'll be there. You're stuck with me.
I have absolute trust in Ryan's ability to convey that. If you're looking for specifics on enforcement actions to date and accurate information with respect to things like that article, then I have been the person involved in that on a day-to-day basis, but unfortunately I'm unable to be here Thursday.
would you be available on next Monday?
Yes.
Okay. So we could put it off until next Monday, and that gives more time to prepare. And I'd also like to take a look at our county policy as to how we respond to complaints, because I'm hearing some feedback that people are being told that the chairman of the board has complete authority to stop an investigation or make it not happen at all, and that's ludicrous. But you know, I think that needs to get out to the public as to how powerful the chairman of the board is or is not, and what we have to do to comply with the governor's executive orders during a pandemic and a state declared emergency declaration. So I think that needs to be cleared up too, because my constituents are being educated on social media, and I think they should have an alternative source of information. Thank you.
And if I may just briefly provide some additional information, on September 3rd, this board voted, and also again on, there was discussion on August 10th, August 13th, and then on September 3rd, they passed the enforcement provisions, which looked like this blue flow chart. I believe you all got it in blue in your materials. And I just want to point out that the board is free to take steps that they feel necessary or warranted in our current situation to revisit that at any time. But until and unless it's revisited, the health department has no choice, no option but to follow the board's directive.
And the board, do you recall what the vote was on that when we originally approved that process?
I believe that it was 3-2, but I'd be going from memory.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone else recalls.
I don't.
Madam Chairman.
Supervisor Gould.
Ms. Knutson, can you give me those dates again of those two votes?
It was agenda eyes on September 3rd, and then I have the language here approved. I better put my glasses on, I'm so sorry, at my age. Approved permitting Mojave County Department of Health to inspect, investigate, and enforce the Arizona Governor's executive orders as proposed by the Mojave County Health Director, including the pursuance of legal actions in accordance with the executive orders and Title 36 of the Arizona Revised Statutes. This motion shall clarify and supersede any previous board discussions regarding enforcement of executive orders, including the discussions on August 10th and August 13th. And the motion carried 3-1 with Supervisor Gould dissenting, and Supervisor Angus was not present for the vote.
Thank you.
Yes.
Madam Chairman, you also, under the emergency authorization, you do have the power to close businesses. That's one of the powers that's given to you under the declaration.
And if I just may clarify, no businesses have been closed to date.
Okay.
It brings up a question. So we have a particular restaurant that decided to close down rather than be served their order to comply. What happens now?
Well, we are in uncharted territory. The order to comply was indeed served. It was served at 3:05 p.m. on Friday. And so the next step would be an inspection to affirm compliance. Because again, we want to give them every opportunity to comply before proceeding to the court process, which would be the last stage on your flow chart. They have not opened their doors for the public since that time. We have checked daily during their normal business hours. And so this is me as the legal representative for the Department of Health. We have had multiple conversations about this, but it seems somewhat counterintuitive to proceed to a court action to accomplish what they've already accomplished, which is doors closed and locked. If at some point they choose to reopen their doors, which we would hope that they do, and be able to conduct their business and be successful in conducting that business, then we would inspect at that time. The health department would inspect to ensure compliance, at least until the executive orders are lifted and we are no longer, there's two options. One is the executive orders are lifted and we're no longer tasked with enforcing that, or two, the board rescinds its earlier decision to serve as an enforcement mechanism for the executive orders. If either of those things would happen, then the health department would not play a role in their reopening. As long as those two factors remain in force, the health department will play a role with respect to whatever point they choose to reopen. They will be subject to an inspection.
So, Madam Chairman, Ms. Knutson, if they decide, when they decide to open back up, then they will immediately be inspected, or do you need to start the process again?
We would be inspecting as soon as they reopen, continuing with the process where they're at right now. And just as a bit of perspective, there have been many businesses along the way that are not 7-day-a-week businesses. And so if the next health inspection falls, the next COVID inspection falls at a time when the business is not normally open, we're deferring till their next open date. So we're doing that already as a course of business. We cannot compel someone to open their doors when they wouldn't otherwise be open. And
we can compel them to close.
Well, we can't, no, but courts can. Just to be clear, we do not have the authority to do that. A court does, at least the way that Mojave County has passed it. The executive order gives the county more authority than the county has chosen to exercise.
So the executive order, you said, gives the chairman more authority than the county has decided to exercise?
Not the chairman necessarily, but and I'm referring to 2020-47 and it's paragraph 8 under the now therefores. And the relevant part here says that failure to comply with this order and any other guidance issued by the Arizona Department of Health Services related to the precautions to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 shall constitute a public nuisance dangerous to the public health pursuant to ARS 36-601, and action is authorized and shall be taken to abate the nuisance by the county health inspectors pursuant to ARS 36-183.06 or other law enforcement or state agencies as mandated by the Arizona Department of Health Services, including, and this is the important piece on point to your comment, including the immediate closure of such facility. So the executive order 2020-47 actually gives the health department far greater authority to immediately close a business. Mojave County has not opted for that strong arm approach. We've adopted for a multi-stage process, educating businesses and working collaboratively to bring them into compliance, which up to this point has been very successful.
4041 is not the Mojave County executive order, though, is it?
I'm sorry, 2020-47 is.
That's the executive order. That's the governor's executive order.
That's the governor's executive order, but that's not our emergency powers.
That's correct. This is the Executive Order 2020-47 promulgated by Governor Ducey.
Okay, but we have our own
We have not taken.
emergency order.
That's correct, but
That's
we have.
different and separate.
It is different and separate. It's an addition to, not in place of, and we have not taken any formal action under that authority of the chairman of the board.
Thank you.
So can you or Attorney Esplin elaborate on what the powers of the chairman of the board is, other than decorum of running the meetings on the board and signing legal documents throughout the one-year period that the chairmanship is alternated through the different through the different supervisors? I mean, I want to clear up the misconception that the chairman of the board is like the governor and has special powers.
Well, one, look, I can't compete against social media. I can't compete against Facebook. I can't compete against Twitter. And I recommend to any of you supervisors that we shouldn't compete against in the court of public opinion. I'm sorry. But in general, you've described what the duties of the chairman are, what they are, generally what those are throughout the year. But specific to the declaration of emergency, that's what Supervisor Gould was referencing, that we've passed a resolution. When I say we, Mojave County has passed a resolution in 1998 that authorizes the chairman to declare an emergency pursuant to 26-313, I believe. And once that happens, the chairman would have authority to do specific things during an emergency. That's what Supervisor Gould was referencing, such as you could close down businesses, you could impose curfews. There's a few other things that are specific in the statute. But as Attorney Knudsen has pointed out, we have not done that. Nobody has done that. There's not been any kind of formal action that has been made pursuant to that authority during this pandemic.
Okay, with that being made, I would like to make a motion that we end Mojave County's declaration of emergency, knowing that it's not going to be recommended by legal staff, but as I think Supervisor Angus and Supervisor Gould has pointed out, we can declare another emergency the following meeting if need be. I mean, we could. It's just a formality that we could do. So I will put that forward as a motion, and if the board wants to consider that and vote to end our emergency declaration, I don't have a problem with it.
I second that motion.
Wow, that was fast.
I was waiting.
Okay. Attorney Esplin, if this motion passes now, what does that mean to Mojave County?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Thank you.
But I have some thoughts and feelings. You already know I disagree with the position, but I've already expressed that, and I just stand by what we said previously. I respect each member of the board. I respect the board's decision, but we've already gone over this. I ain't going to go over it over and over.
Yeah, I disagree with my motion too, but I made it, so. All those in favor?
Madam Chairman, point of clarification.
Supervisor Watson.
By considering this motion, it doesn't change any enforcement action.
That's correct.
Required by the governors.
Yeah, that's correct. And we've talked about that before. And again, the enforcement actions, those are coming from the governor's executive orders. That's where it's coming through, as Attorney Knudsen has expressed and explained previously.
That's true.
So I think we should be extremely clear to any of our constituents that any action that Mojave County has to take is because of the governor's action.
That's correct.
Thank you.
It's a good point, Supervisor Watson. Restaurants and bars and water parks and theaters, they still have to comply with the governor's executive orders, and the health department will still have to do what they are required to do. So,
and if I could just clarify, just a point of order, what I recommend is, and to me, this is an exercise in futility, but we've got to do it, that you motion to reconsider because one of the losing parties on that motion to remove the declaration of emergency
Right. Yeah.
lost. So, but you were on the winning side of that, or Chairman Bishop, so you can reconsider that and then make a vote for the reconsideration, after which then you would make a new motion.
Absolutely. So, and instead of that motion that I made, I will make a motion to reconsider the emergency declaration
Second.
for Mojave County. And Supervisor Gold did second it again. Do you have anything further to add, Lenora?
I don't. I'm thankful to Supervisor Watson for that clarification, because again, until and unless either the executive orders are rescinded at the governor's level or Mojave County Board of Supervisors votes to change its enforcement practice, the health department has no choice but to continue to enforce.
Okay, and once again, Mojave County may be making history with the state of Arizona, because I don't think any other county has rescinded their emergency declaration to date. So Supervisor Angus.
Madam Chair, and just for clarification, Lenore, you say that the health department is following the governor's executive order, but we can, this board can modify how it's enforced.
Yes, I think using a similar process and reconsidering the earlier motion to adopt this multi-step process.
Right.
Then the board could reconsider that.
Right.
I would defer to my much more learned colleague, Mr. Esplin.
No, I think you're exactly right. Let me just give a simple example. You know, the laws on the books for speeding, okay? The police department will decide how they wish to enforce that, though. They may say, you know what, we have an area, we have a jurisdiction here. The law says that the speed limit here is 35 miles per hour. We're having a lot of speeders through there. As a policy, why don't we put a patrol officer there, and we'll just give them warnings for now. Or a department may say, no, but we want to enforce this strictly, and so we're going to give tickets for each one. It's the same kind of concept. The law's there, you're allowed to do it, but we're going to defer to you in terms of how you, the public body here, wishes us to enforce it. You've already made one decision. We're following what the rules are, or what you guys want us to do. If you change that or modify that, then we'll move forward with it. I mean, we're trying to respect your wishes. We respect the board. We respect what the board wants. Right now, this is what the board wants, and so we respect that. We want to make sure that we follow what you represent, the voice of the people, and we absolutely respect that. So,
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Angus.
So would it be amenable to you if we did make the Thursday meeting about enforcement? The reason I don't want it to be a workshop is if, as a workshop, you can't make motions and do business, correct?
it depends on how you do it. I would recommend you do a regular business meeting, just like you always do. Just put aside the workshop stuff. I'd ask you to put it on Monday if we okay, because Attorney Knudsen knows this area inside and out, and this is what she does, and it'd be much better. You don't want to get someone like me to just kind of, push your way through on Thursday, and I don't know all the answers like she does. So I'd recommend you put it on Monday. We're talking 4 days.
Yeah, I was only saying a workshop, Supervisor Angus, because you mentioned you wanted business owners to come in and.
But they can come but they can come as a call to public at a regular meeting.
At a regular meeting, but not at a COVID meeting.
It's up to the chairman whether you want to do that or not. It's up to you. We have not been doing it. We've been allowing the public to listen and participate, but generally we just listen to what the director says.
Can we then just make the Monday meeting about enforcement, just change it from a COVID update meeting to a meeting about enforcement?
I would be okay with that.
Up to you. It's your board.
Yeah, but I'm going to keep these meetings, these COVID meetings and this meeting without public participation. Because these are meetings for us to work and to make decisions based on what's happening with COVID. They can come to the next regular meeting and comment.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But, so do I make a motion to make our regular Monday update meeting about enforcement?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, we already have a motion on the floor that we have not voted on. So there was the reconsideration to end the declaration of emergency. We haven't voted on that, so we have an open motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. So
I believe we have a second, right? Wasn't there a second?
Yeah, we have a motion and a second, and I will call for the vote now. All those in favor of reconsideration, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so now I'll make the motion to rescind the Mojave County emergency declaration.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, Supervisor Angus.
Madam Chair?
Supervisor Johnson, go ahead.
Now that we've done away with the emergency declaration, we've done away with our masks in the buildings, before Supervisor Angus makes her motion, I would make a motion to do away with the twice weekly COVID meetings. We obviously have no problem with the COVID issue.
Okay, so you're making a motion to do away with the COVID bi-weekly meetings, period.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, Supervisor Angus.
Okay, so we're done with that.
Yes.
So I make a motion that we hold a special meeting on Monday. What's the date of that? November
The 9th?
9th?
If it's a week from today, it's November 9th.
Okay. We have a special meeting on business, COVID business enforcement. What would be the right terminology?
That works.
Yeah.
And what I would ask is that we bring back as an agenda item on that would be the September 3rd action item, because that's what's driving this, that we bring back that item. And how that it was, what we would do is, the motion was approved permitting Mojave County Department of Health to inspect, investigate, and enforce the Arizona Governor's executive orders as proposed by the Mojave County Health Director, including the pursuance of legal actions in accordance with the executive orders in Title 36 of the Arizona Revised Statutes. And then this motion clarifies the previous one. So we're asking that it would motion to hold a special meeting for the enforcement of the governor's executive orders. That's what I would say. And then as part of on the agenda item, we would bring back this item for the board to reconsider and to make any discussions and actions related to it.
Okay. So say that first part again, to a special meeting to...
Motion for a special meeting to discuss the enforcement of the governor's executive orders.
Okay.
Related to COVID.
That's my motion. Okay, Ginny? Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Melissa, do you have anything further for us?
I do have one question, just a point of clarification. Do we continue to do the reporting out Monday through Friday in the hospital updates?
Nothing has changed since, so I think you continue to go forward.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay, I do not have anything else.
All right.
And let me just clarify, I know that we keep on talking about this, but at that meeting, a week from today, we'll be able to take action. That's your intentions, correct? So it's discussion and possible action. Okay.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.